Hello and welcome to Bookish Brits. I'm Rex, and this month I thought I would change things up a bit. So I quite like to read non-fiction, but I take my time. I read the odd chapter here and there, and I pad it out with lots of fiction because sometimes your brain can't take that much. So what ends up happening is I end up reading a lot of books at the same time, and the really good non-fictions are the ones I stick with and I finish, and it just takes me a while. But I thought, why wait until I've read all of them completely before doing a review when I can just tell you about the ones I'm currently invested in. So the first one I wanted to talk about was Adam Rutherford's How to Argue with a Racist. I started by listening to the podcast, which I highly recommend. It's available on like all the places you get podcasts, like Spotify and Apple and whatever. But it's only a few episodes. You'll get through it nice and quickly. And if you don't want to read the book afterwards, fine. But I definitely did. So I've been reading the odd chapter here and there for the past few months, and it is just as good as the podcast. It's insightful. It's really helpful for those of us who aren't scientists because he covers the science, but in a way the rest of us can understand. And it does exactly what it says on the tin. It really kind of goes through, where do these ideas of race come from? Are they genetic? Because they're not. Or are they cultural? Are they other things? And it's very interesting. Highly recommend it. Each chapter has given me massive insights. So I think if you're into that kind of thing, definitely pick it up. It's fantastic. The second book is a little bit different. It's called Dataclysm. And I started reading this years ago and not finished it, more because the copy I had belonged to someone else and I had to give it back before I finished. So I managed to get an ebook of it instead, and I read it really quickly this time around. It's by one of the founders of a dating website called OkCupid. The gentleman's name who wrote it's Christian Rudder, and he uses the data set from OkCupid, but lots of other large public data sets on people, to go through how people relate to each other in terms of relationships. And I found it fascinating. And he gives you lots of caveats. So look, I'm only going to look at this particular area more so than this area because that's what I've got data on, or that's where I can make certain comparisons. But, one of the chapters specifically looks at, do people date outside of their own race? And what age group do, if you're a 40-year-old woman, what age group are you more likely to go for? And there's really, really fascinating stuff about, I think the tagline is something like, what do people do when they think no one else is looking? When it comes to relationships. And it's such a compelling read. I mean, I can't say that I was surprised about all of it, but there was a lot of surprises in there for me. And I imagine for you. But if you're just curious, he's got given the volume of data that he's using to write the narrative for, it's genuinely, you're going to want to know. It definitely keeps you interested and turning pages. And he also is very good at representing, like he's got some, he'll explain the data and then he'll show you in different ways that you can look at the same data and the conclusions you can make. And I found that really, really interesting. So Dataclysm, that's number 2 that I have actually finished. And then another one I'm halfway through reading is The Future of Feeling, by Kaitlin Phillips. And this one, it's almost my comfort non-fiction read, if that's a thing, because again, while she's coming from a scientific angle, the way it's delivered makes me really introspective, and it's kind of triggering a different part of my brain than a lot of the other non-fiction I read, which is more history or science-based. And even though this is science-based, it does something different, almost similar to what Sapiens did when I read that. It's kind of triggering those parts in my brain where it's making me think more about life and my own approaches and how other people approach life and emotion and, my place in the world. And I from that perspective, while I haven't got very far with it, every time I do bring myself to read a chapter, it challenges my thinking process and even things I've told myself about when I'm experienced difficult emotions, or why why do I think the way I think about those things? I'm talking in abstract, so future of feeling. If you want to get in touch as to why we feel the way we feel, it's a good one to take a look at. And then the last one was something, again, that I'd read a really long time ago. I work in learning and development, and a friend recommended Dan Pink. So he's got a couple of books out there, but I've gone back and reread Drive because I was talking at work recently about how motivation is such a strong part of our learning experiences and our journeys that we take, and, you know, looking at autonomy and how that factors in and how important that is. So Dan Pink's Drive is all about what motivates us as humans and the different types of motivation that we go through, and how people respond to different things, and, you know, what can seem like a sensible way to motivate people only can have certain amounts of impact, and the reasoning behind that. And he goes to the studies of why people have behaved the way they've behaved. And again, I find that fascinating, both personally and professionally. So those are the 4 books that I'm recently reading or recommending. So I hope that you like them. I'll put the list in the description so you don't have to remember them all from the video. And if you pick any of them up, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Thank you. Bye.